What's up, everyone? Today we are going to be going over a solution to a coolant problem that I had before our road trip yesterday, but I didn't want to make a video about how to fix it until I knew it was able to successfully remedy the issue. The issue was a substantial water leak from the neck of the water crossover pipe and the neck of the water pump itself. It was bad. It was so bad that you just have to put coolant inside the engine and it would spray out. And I'll put a little video right here of what it looked like. It's somewhere around here. And then what really ended up being the problem was kind of a twofold bad day. First, the gaskets that came for the crossover pipe, the ones that go right here, the gaskets that came with the water pump were paper thin. And unfortunately, when you tightened it, it would actually kick the crossover pipe upwards and separate where it meets right here. So solution for that was I got some Pro, about 1/16 of an inch thick gasket, and I used some of this Loctite 515 flange sealant on that area right there. And I'll tell you what, the thing stayed bone dry the entire time I was driving it. The overall length of the road trip was something like close to 400 miles. I don't know exactly because we kind of deviated all over the place. So not only did we get to try some White Castle out for the very first time, which was delicious. If you hate it, I'm sorry. I'll agree to disagree. It's like a slider, except for not so greasy. Yeah, fantastic. But then we also got the opportunity to pay our respects to the man that started the Chrysler organization, and it was a really, his mausoleum was very impressive. But he was a very impressive guy, and it was a phenomenal road trip, and the Cadillac held up great. And the biggest concern I had was, would this coolant fix fail? So, like I was saying, one of the big issues, of course, was right here. When you're cutting this out, you just trace your outside, drill your 2 holes, but then you take a 1 1/8 hole saw in the center of where the crossover meets the actual head itself, and you start forward with your pilot bit, and then once you're going to start cutting with the leading edge of your hole saw, throw it in reverse so it doesn't snag the material, and it just will burrow its way through. And once it's done, you're solid. You mount it together, use this right here in between both the crossover as well as the head, and you sandwich it together. It stayed bone dry. The biggest problem was right here, and I'll show you a photo of just how pitted mine was. So what was happening was, with the pitting and the rounded edges of the crossover neck, the water was just flowing around the OEM O-ring. It was really bad. And a few solutions I found online, unfortunately they were saying use 2 of the O-rings to do the solution, and I just found it wasn't seating all the way down properly. And I actually bought several of the O-rings just in case. Well, so the O-ring, the OEM O-ring is, you can find it at Pro. This is the guy right here. Not sponsored, just trying to, you know, show what I used. And the problem with multiple of these was it's just too thick for it to seat properly between the 2. So what I actually found, believe it or not, was after I wire brushed with the table grinding wire brush thing, once I got it all clean, I used a little bit of just straight JB Weld. And I'll show a picture of what it looked like before I sanded it down. Once the JB Weld cures after 48 hours, or 24 hours rather, sand it down with some 220 grit sandpaper, take a strip of it, and just do a circular motion. There's a few different ways you can do that, but just get it nice and smooth. Flatten out the edges, and it'll end up being a lot like it was original. I'll show you what it's supposed to look like, what ours look like. Once you do that, you're going to start with one of these things right here, and this is actually from Home Depot. It's about around half the thickness of one of the OEM O-rings here, and that's, so if you can see the skew right there, but that's what I used. In fact, I think I have it up on my phone as well, so you can kind of see if there's a part number somewhere, but that's what you're looking for. Once you get that, you're going to sandwich it between 2 washers like this, to the point where if you look at it, it's bowing out substantially. Now we're going to set you down for a second and we'll pick back up and I'll show you what the next step is. And this is like one of the easiest things you can do to repair it, because otherwise buying a new water crossover tube, if you're lucky, is like $150 to $200. And that was like at a pinch where I could find. So let's go ahead and show you what the next step is. So your next step is I used a drill press when I did it, but you can just take a regular drill, tighten it down. You're going to take your 200 grit sandpaper that we used a little bit earlier for cleaning up the actual surface, and you're just going to go ahead until all these nubs are gone. So we'll go ahead and make it this way, it's a little bit easier. Make a liar out of me. You want this to be nice and smooth, just like that. And once you get it to there, make sure you clean it off. And you're going to actually use the O-ring first, which this is going to be going into the actual water pump. But what it'll kind of look like if you're going from the water pump up. Now I do have this squeezed pretty tightly, so I don't know if I'm going to... Give me a second, let me loosen this up. So what it's going to look like is the top of your crossovers here and your water pumps down here. You're going to use one of these O-rings and one of these right here, and you're just going to slide it up. Now don't take too much material off of this because you want a nice and snug fit. This is great because you can see how nice and smooth this is now. It is able to withstand hot temperatures of water. And this right here, combined with this, I did not have a single leak. The thing stayed beautifully dry, and we'll see if we can't sneak you guys down inside there. That's where we were leaking profusely. And that was all I needed to do to solve the problem. And I tried finding a few other people that have had the issue and had a really good solution. I couldn't find anything that was really proven. So once I actually drove it nearly 400 miles or whatever the road trip was, I feel like in my mind I can guide you guys through how I solve the problem, and I hope this really helps, because it's a very expensive fix otherwise, and if that's all it takes to fix it, then let me tell you, that's a good way to keep it so it's all original, because a crossover does have numbers cast into it, and to me it means something to keep that original crossover tube. And I'm sure you could probably find someone that can repair it. I can't even imagine what that would cost. So if you're running into the same issue I had, which was just you did a water pump and your crossover tube was so corroded that it wasn't able to withstand the pressure of just having any coolant in it, let alone it running, that's the solution, guys. At least what worked for me. I hope this helped you guys. This is a really quick video for me, but just remember, keep your shiny side up. And God bless.